what an incredibly long and fast year this last one has been. I'm really thrilled that we're able to come together as our Team Pete and Win the Era community at the end of the year to mark the holidays. Happy holidays to all of you. Happy Hanukkah for those of you that celebrate. I know my daughter is really excited to get that last candle on her menorah. We've got Christmas right around the corner and Kwanzaa coming up soon. So happy holidays to you in whatever way you're celebrating this year. I'd be remiss if I didn't start with a really hearty and heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you. Having you as part of this really special team and community has been amazing. I was reflecting on the fact this week that it's been just about 2 years since this bold project in some ways started. And we've just been so blessed and grateful to have the support that so many of you have put into Pete to Win the Era. So thank you for being on this journey with us and for everything you've done to support and sort of give life to this vision and path and journey. Great. Well, today we're getting together to hear a little bit from Pete and Chasten, and also to learn about some amazing organizations in the spirit of the holidays that are doing some really important work, that are the World Central Kitchen and also the Center for Homelessness based right there in South Bend. To tell us a little bit more, we've got some important folks that are leading the work at those organizations, but we're also joined by Pete and Chasten, our most special guests. So without further ado, Pete, over to you.
Well, thank you, Swati, and I'll be brief because I'm really excited for everybody to hear from my friend and fellow Maltese American Steve in the wonderful work that he's doing here in South Bend, and from Jose Andres, and of course from Chasten, who is a few hours north of me, and as always has the place looking good. And it's just such a treat to be able to celebrate a remarkable year. I mean, 2020 was filled with a lot of darkness, a lot of blows, a lot of confusion. And yet it's also a year that's ending on a note that gives me so much hope. And so much of that comes from what this community was able to do. I know that we're all adapting and adjusting, used to gathering with family in intimate and gregarious ways this time of year, and we're all having to adjust. But we're also being reminded, I think, at a moment like this, how much we have to be grateful for, and just how broad and big and inclusive the idea of a family really can be. I felt that yesterday, a giant family that I was hearing from as I came off the stage with the president-elect and saw on my phone just virtual embraces from around the country and around the world, and so many of you. And I feel it now, knowing that we're supporting these wonderful organizations. It is a season for gratitude, among a lot of other things. And I have enormous gratitude that even as the politics of this country and the daily lives of this country have gone through so much, have been turned upside down in so many ways, that we found ways to light a candle in that darkness. And the friends we've been able to make, the alliances we've been able to form, the causes we've been able to support have reaffirmed my faith in what's possible for the future. And I'm ready for 2021. I think we are all ready for 2020 to be in our rearview mirror. And the road ahead, I still think, amounts to a deciding decade. By the way, having said road ahead, I realize it's almost impossible to get through more than a paragraph without inadvertently making a transportation pun. So forgive me and buckle up. But what I'll say is that in the years that are Chasten's shaking his head, can't help it. In the years that are coming up, we still are setting the tone for what's next for the rest of our lives. And that can be a really good thing. And you have demonstrated that in so many ways as a community of supporters and friends who have also upheld something that we originally conceived in my presidential campaign, but has now guided Win the Era and guides us going forward. And that's that idea of the rules of the road, like respect, belonging, and teamwork, substance, discipline, excellence, joy, all of the values that have guided us. You've brought to life in new ways that I've seen, first in person along the amazing journey that we had up until March of this year, and then the even more extraordinary and unexpected journey that we've had since. So I hope that you are continuing to lift each other up. I hope you're uplifted by some of what we're about to hear from here. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Chasten, who is the real star.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Secretary Designate. If you want some transportation puns, chasten your seatbelts. There, it hit. I saw it. You got it. I've been waiting. Thank you so much, Swati, and thank you so much to Team Pete for being on this call. Thank you for buoying us these last 2 years. As Pete said yesterday when we were celebrating, even though the room was very empty because we're doing our best to stay safe amidst COVID, it really did feel like we were sort of blanketed in this warmth and this hug from a team that is so dedicated to acceptance and belonging and inclusion. And I felt like you stepping off that stage yesterday, P, was in a way a celebration of everything that everybody has done together. And this family's not going away. The thing I love so much about this family is how much it does really feel like a family. It doesn't feel like it's about just one person. It feels like it's about an idea, you know, a campaign, a family, a group of people, a community that is about inclusion and acceptance and belonging. It's about bringing people together. And now here we are in the holiday season. And I feel like at the beginning of every year, you think about the year ahead, you know, all of the things that you want to achieve, all of the things that you want to get, all of the things that you want to get to. And this year has sort of asked us to pause in a way and reflect on all of the things that we have. And making it through this pandemic has been a lot easier, being surrounded by this community, by these friends. And it certainly hasn't been terrible being by your side, P. And now we get to celebrate this season with some close friends. I'm so glad that Steve is on the call tonight. You already talked about how he's a Maltese American, which how many of those do you find in South Bend?
That's right.
I got to know Steve actually from my teaching gig. So I used to take my 8th graders down to the South Bend Center for the Homeless every Wednesday. And they would get to learn a little bit from Steve and his staff. We celebrated the idea of service with others and not an idea of service for others, which is an idea that Steve cultivates at the South Bend Center for the Homeless. And I'm so glad that he's on the call tonight because he represents so many of the ideas and values that Team Pete shares as well. So Steve, it is so nice to be on a call with you, and so nice to see you again. And I'm going to turn it over to you so you can tell us a little bit more about why the South Bend Center for the Homeless is such a great institution.
Gosh, well, thanks so much, Chasten, and thanks, Mayor Pete, Swati. It's so good to be with you all, especially at this time of year. So many of the ideals that you just shared have been present here at the center and here in our community. And I'm just so grateful to you both. And I'm so grateful to those who've supported us. Just really wonderful to see the gifts that are coming in. So please, on behalf of the 200 guests, the children, the men, the women, and the veterans who call the Center for the Homeless home, we want to thank you all. And, you know, I remember when Pete was there for us when we dedicated the Veterans Center. And I know how near and dear to your heart our veterans are, Mayor Pete. And because of you and your leadership, we've been able to have functionally zero veterans homelessness in our community. And that's something we're so proud of. And Chasten, you shared your role with the Montessori School and seeing our youngest and most vulnerable children partnering with the middle school students that you taught. What a great relationship and what a beautiful partnership. So it's really good to see you here. Of course, we miss you guys so much here at the center, but we haven't had many people at the center because we've had to have a moratorium on volunteers. So it's been a tough time for everyone, but our guests are incredibly resilient. They're doing well during the holidays. We had an incredible example today of a 7-year-old who asked Santa Claus for 99 blankets. And lo and behold, from all over this beautiful country, 350 blankets were mailed, and it continues. So that's the kind of special place that the center's been. And we're so grateful that you would think of us and let us share a little bit of our story tonight with our friends. So thank you guys so much, and blessed holidays to you all.
Thank you, Steve, for the incredibly important work that you do, and you know, it really does just reflect so well on the community. And I know this time of year in particular is one that so much is asked of you, and so thankful that you're rising to this. I believe our next guest is here or is about to be here. Let me say a word about the extraordinary work of World Central Kitchen. You know, Chef Jose Andres has been known for a long time for his culinary leadership. But I think maybe too often great restaurants are associated only with luxury, with wealth, with celebration. And he has seen to it that there is a deeper understanding about the meaning of food, not just in the ways that it can bring us together, but also how much we rely on each other and how much can be done to make sure that food is there for those in need. He has been outspoken on the need for food policy, two words you don't always hear together, even though if you think about it for a moment, they absolutely should, and we absolutely need to be more intentional about it as a country. And in the wake of the 2010 Haiti earthquake, he created this extraordinary organization, World Central Kitchen, which has provided healthy food to families and individuals touched by disasters. And what's especially remarkable, as he has been acting not just in the wake of natural disasters through the years, but mobilizing an incredible amount of action and activity in response to the COVID pandemic, is that in doing so, he's also been supporting what has become such a vulnerable industry, the restaurant industry, that is, of course, employing so many people. And so I'm thrilled that he was able to join us tonight, thrilled that you all are helping us to support the extraordinary work that World Central Kitchen does. And with that, we'll turn it over to the chef.
Hello, Mayor Pete. Thank you very much for having me. I love to be joining you, and I'm guessing you are doing this from home.
Yes, right up in the attic.
So your husband Chasten should be say hi to him, please, from me. And listen, I am a cook. Mayor Pete, I'm a cook. I feed the few, but I always had a passion for feeding the many. My mom and my dad, they were nurses. They passed away 3 years ago, but I always saw going to the hospitals, where for me was often the place, because my father and mother had different shifts on the same hospital. So the hospital was the place that my brothers and we will be exchanged. We didn't have anybody to take care of us at home, and I always saw the amazing healthcare workers going beyond their duty, reading a book to a child, waiting for their family to arrive, or walking with an elderly person in the absence of a family member to do so. My mom and dad, they love to cook, and we will always be cooking home. And actually was necessity, because even they were working class, it's not like we went to restaurants. Cooking home was always what we did. And I think that planted the seed on me, again, of seeing food is love kind of approach. My father would always cook on Sundays a big paella pan, and he will always put me in charge of making the fire. One day I got very impatient, and I told my dad, I want to cook. And my father said, no, my son, you have to do the fire. You are the only one that can help me. This is a very big paella pan. It's a lot of people I have to feed, and today is windy. I need you to do the fire. I'm like, I got upset. He sent me away. Obviously, they ate without my help. I was young. I was 12, 13. My father got me on the side at the end and told me, my son, I know you wanted to do the cooking, but you were doing the most important thing. You were controlling the fire. You were tending the fire. My son, control the fire, and then you can do any cooking you want. Obviously, it was a great lesson for a young cook in the making. But I realized many years later that my father was sending me a lesson, a metaphor of life. Everybody, all of us, we must learn our fire. we must control our fire. Then we can do any cooking we want with our lives, any cooking we want with the world. So.
Thank you for such an inspiring outlook, and again, we're all inspired by the work that you were doing, stepping in when people are so vulnerable, and bringing those gifts to empower and literally, as you said, to feed the many. Let me turn it back over to Swati, who I think will guide us through as much question and answer as time can allow.
Perfect. Great. So we've had folks that are listening in today send questions to us in advance. And so from David in Philadelphia, a question for all four of you. What are some of your favorite holiday traditions and how are you celebrating this year?
Justin, I feel like as the Christmas lead in our household, you should lead the way.
I have enough traditions for everyone. I think I love that. One of my favorite things about Christmas with my parents, which we won't be able to have this year, is my mom makes homemade cinnamon rolls every year, and that is the smell of Christmas morning. So I will try to replicate it in our house. One of my new favorite traditions is Christmas Eve night. Pete and I listened to a recording of A Child's Christmas in Wales. And Pete knows every word. And so I don't know what I love more, listening to the recording or listening to Pete speaking over the recording. But we usually listen to it right before we go to bed. And so a little cooking and a little literature for both of these guests as well. It's those small things that I look forward to the most, definitely.
Jeff, how about you?
Listen to me. I have so many traditions. I'm a Catholic boy. Obviously, I grew up celebrating Christmas, but my life has put many diverse, amazing people that has enriched me. So now sometimes, like last year, that almost Hanukkah and Christmas happened at the same time. And we were celebrating almost both things at the same time with close Jewish friends we have. But I grew up in Barcelona. Even I was born in the north of Spain, in Asturias. Spain, which is a small country, in the moment you drive 100 kilometers, everything is different. People speak different languages, different traditions, different foods. So growing up in Barcelona, the 25th of December is very traditional in Barcelona, something called the Caga Tió. This is a very big wooden, a big piece of wood, a big log that they put the traditional hat of Catalonia, which is this beautiful red and black hat, and they put in the log, in the wooden log, like from a tree. How you call it in English? A log, right? A log, a wooden log. Hey, my English is bad, okay? So don't make fun of me. And then they put them 2 eyes and a nose, and then the children will go and they will start singing a song as they are kind of hitting the log with some sticks. And as they will sing the song, they will go back to a room in the house, they will pray. And when they come out, the log has given away a whole bunch of candies and gifts. And this will be repeated. All right. I don't have young children anymore. My youngest is 16, my daughter Lucia. But I am a child inside. And I love sometimes to repeat this tradition that when I was young, I used to do with my cousins and my family. And it's a crazy tradition because we have it now with Santa Claus and also the Three Kings. In Spain, we celebrate the 6th of January, Epiphany Day. But very often, this is a tradition on the 25th when we want to remember old traditions that brings me good memories of a past that seems far away, but just happened yesterday. I love to do this tradition, even if now I'm not a child anymore and I'm a grown-up man, to do this like it was a child. And I get so excited when we open up the blanket that covers the log and there are the candies and the gift that keep up and coming. So that's a tradition that I keep doing here and there, and I love it.
What a lovely image. And I do think the great thing about holidays is they can invite us to remain children or remain in touch with how it was to be children. And so many of my favorite traditions have to do with food as well. Mine was in my family growing up. What's considered, I think, English just pub food to us was we kind of thought of as a luxury, because when I was a little boy, we had a chance to spend time in the UK, and so my parents would make sausage rolls, get those smoked sausages that you get by the dozen, just wrap them up in a croissant that you could stick in the oven and make it into sausage rolls. It would make me feel like I was there. And for whatever reason, as a child, I took to that food, and I think of it as a delicacy, even though it's probably not always viewed that way in its native country. And I think of the fact that actually the first time I met Chasten's family was Christmas. That first time he brought me home, and we were, I think, both of us a little nervous, and it was so wonderful and full of warmth in that house. And we'll have to evoke it and conjure it in different ways.
Wonderful. Great. It's actually a really great segue. Elaine in Arizona, chef, wanted to share a quick message with you. Jose, I am and will be forever grateful for all that you did for our community during the Thomas fire. God bless and keep you safe. I think Elaine's comment is also a really important reminder that this year in particular has been a very long and hard one for so many, too many. And the holidays will feel different for so many families across the country. So we're wondering, Chef, what are some ways that Team Pete can help you with your work right now?
Listen, we've been in many fires before answering, and I want to send my big hug to my friends out there. I remember last year we were in Paradise, and on Thanksgiving Day, after the big fire that in Paradise and Chico that decimated so many homes, and that the people in Thanksgiving, I went with my family that were helping feed the community, that many of them, as we know, lost their homes because of the fires. You know, the people that help us feed every single person in Paradise, the thousands of people that we were able to feed, were the firefighters that saved the lives of so many. Instead, actually was the first day, it was rain. It was the first day technically where they were having a day off after terrible days, if not weeks. And this to me showed me just the commitment that many of the people we are seeing through this pandemic, firefighters, first responders, nurses, that duty is used something that is beyond mention. They put sometimes even the lives of others before even the lives and the well-being of their own. And this shows me how many great people are in America and around the world. So how Team Pete can be helping us? Obviously, being here already, you're helping us. You've been today and sharing your time with me is like, are you kidding me? Actually, I received the phone call yesterday of Mayor Pete, and I was highly surprised. I'm like, oh, the blue is like amazing. He really cares about this. And this was even hours before he was nominated for the Secretary of Transportation position. So I just love that he cares so much and that he's there. I think we need boots on the ground. And I think we need to start making sure that our leaders, the promises are kept, and that we are able just to bring what people want. People don't want our pity, people want our respect. The way to provide respect is being next to the people, especially in our case in emergencies. I said at the beginning, I feed the few, but I want to feed the many. And when I became American 7 years ago with my wife, I was told that to be American was not only exercising your right to vote on election day, but that to be an American was to contribute to our country every single day of your life, not be a silent actor of what you see, but being opinionated with ideas and supporting what you feel must be supported. So the ways to be helping, obviously, World Central Kitchen, we're here to stay, unfortunately. I believe that we bring, you know what we bring to the table? We don't plan. Actually, we don't have a plan. That's what we do. When you plan too much in life, what happens in emergencies? That if you prepare to plan, when life doesn't follow that plan, if you don't train your teams to adapt to the new circumstances and to embrace complexity, they freeze. We all must learn how to adapt and to embrace the complexities. And what you guys are doing just by being here with us and helping bring awareness of the work of World Central Kitchen, where we've done 36 million meals on this pandemic alone this year, where we had 3,000 restaurants at one moment doing over 250,000 meals a day. This bringing awareness to the many people in the team of Mayor Pete is just already very huge for us. But we need to understand that in these hard moments, in these moments that sometimes are dark, we need to remember that we, the people, is where is going to keep all of us moving forward, respecting each other, and especially remembering that those that don't look and sound like you, they are not your enemy, but actually they are the people that are helping you to be better. If we all do that, that's going to be great. And I'm so thankful that they are here just helping us bring awareness of World Central Kitchen and beyond. All of you.
That was wonderful. Thank you for leaving some great ideas and inspiration for those of us listening. I want to switch gears for a second. We have a question from one of our Team Pete family members based in California for Chasten. Chasten, Maria says, you've had a really big year. You're a New York Times bestselling author and educator and a leader in the LGBTQ community. So what does 2021 hold in store for you? How are you going to continue to work for the causes you care for?
Seems kind of hard to talk about myself following Chef Andres. I'm so grateful for his work, and I love that you're on this call. I guess 21 has a lot in store for Pete and I. And I guess I should say I'm really excited that he has a thing that I don't care that much about. I'm really excited to see Pete fly and put all of his energy into transportation and nerd out about something he's so passionate about, and kind of allows me to do my own thing. I loved writing the book. I loved sharing my story with the world. I loved hearing people's reflections and comments about the book, how it meant something to them. And I sort of, like everybody else on the call, I just want to make sure that I'm using my platform for good. I want to make sure that I use this platform that we have together to make other people feel like they belong. To me, that was the best part of the campaign, was getting to meet people and visit with folks and sit at tables and share meals and tears and stories. And at the end of it, walk away feeling like everyone felt like they were part of something bigger. So I guess I don't know what specifically that means for me, you know, career-wise. I'm excited to bring Buddy and Truman to DC and see Pete get to work, and you know, I'll figure it out for me. But I'm excited to have a little direction for our family, and not getting too wrapped up in the concerns about what's next, but really, especially this time of year, pausing to reflect on all that I'm grateful for. Grateful for a loving husband, grateful to have a home and food in my belly and 2 silly dogs that fill us with so much joy. And we'll take it one step at a time. And I think that's important for all of us to sort of remind ourselves of right now, that we don't have to have it all figured out. And we just take it one step at a time. But I don't know if anyone has any good dog park recommendations in DC. I can't wait to hear them.
That's right. There's potentially a big move coming up. Pete, no surprises here. You've already seen quite a bit of this interest reflected in the comments, but many folks have asked about your exciting new role. It's certainly been a really big week. We're really excited about the path ahead for you. Could you share a little bit about what you might be envisioning for the Department of Transportation now that you are Secretary-elect or Secretary nominated? What are some ways that you're thinking about tackling climate, infrastructure, and racial equity, some of the themes that you spoke to in your acceptance remarks earlier this week?
Well, I'll say this, and of course, I'm not speaking in any official capacity tonight, but what really strikes me about the future is that each of the many things that are facing this country in a big way intersect in this area. There goes another inadvertent transportation pun. They happen whether you plan on it or not. But look at climate and the way the need to meet the climate challenge intersects with the need to meet our economic challenge, the need to create good paying jobs at a time like this. It turns out where both of those meet is largely in and around transportation in this country, infrastructure in this country, the need to set up the right kind of infrastructure that's going to propel us into a better propel us into a better future. And, this is part, I think, of how we work our way out of the economic emergency that we're in. But it's not just about surviving this year's economic peril. It's about preparing for the rest of the century's opportunity. So many of the questions of racial and economic justice and injustice in this country actually cash out in questions of our infrastructure, who has been afforded and who has been denied the ability even just to get around. Certainly something that we saw here in our community that I know Steve and his colleagues work on a lot is just literally being able to get people to the resources they need. So whether we're talking about somebody who needs the means to travel 1 mile to where they can get good, healthy food or a job, or whether we're talking about moving people, money, goods, and for that matter, cold storage vaccines around the world. All of these things intersect with each other, connect with each other. And I'm really excited about the opportunity to really work on all of those, because we know that if we get it right, that really is part of what will make the years ahead go down in history as when America reached a new level of coming nearer to its potential. But so much depends on whether we do it quickly and effectively.
Well, lots to do, but so much to look forward to. And I know everybody's joining me in expressing our enthusiasm and excitement. It's great to have something to feel hopeful for and to think about the future. So I think you've given everyone in our community an opportunity to do that this week, which is great. So here's a question from the audience. We've heard a fair bit, Chef, from you about the important work that World Central Kitchen is doing, and a great picture of how an organization outside of government, a nonprofit organization, does really important work to make people's lives better and to offer flexibility and nimbleness to respond to the needs at hand. Pete, you're on the precipice of taking a new role, potentially, in government, going back into that form of public leadership. And Chasten, you've had a really major year of providing a lot of important inspirational and cultural leadership. We'd love to hear from you, all of you, about what are some ways that government and nonprofit and cultural organizations can work together to make people's lives better?
Certainly, in my experience, partnership is everything, and I'd be interested for. I thought Steve had stepped away, but he may still be with us too. So I hope he'll weigh in, because one of the things I learned very early on in my first experience of elected office is that you're conducting. You're not playing the instruments. You're conducting. Everybody else is playing instruments, and that's not only those government agencies and institutions that you may have direct responsibility for, but it's those nonprofit, private, cultural, and other partners who you don't have any power over or control over, but who you can invite to be playing that same sheet of music, and then try to set a tempo that makes it possible for everybody to be doing it in concert with each other. And again, the two wonderful organizations here, I think, represent that in a beautiful way. And I think that's going to be so important in the road ahead. It's frankly, a characteristically American way of solving things. And, I think we need to we who are involved in government, need to go into it with a level of humility, that the things that we're trying to do to serve people and make people better off aren't just things that we figure out sitting in an office, but really, as often as not, have to do with tearing down obstacles for people to lift one another up, and for fantastic organizations to step in and to do that. And I'm glad the word cultural was in that question too, because so much depends on establishing a culture of caring, a culture of mutual respect. There was a remarkable rhyme between what Chef Andres was saying and what Steve had said about not serving people from on high, but at their side, and learning from them just as you're seeking to help others, putting away any kind of any kind of presumptuousness, and recognizing that each of us has as much to learn from and can be as dependent on another as in any other direction. And I think that spirit's going to do us well with everything that all of us are up against in the years ahead.
Any other thoughts or reflections on this question? No.
Yeah, if I could be adding, obviously we're talking about food. One of the main issues we are facing, not only in America, but around the world, and especially in emergencies, that one thing is to have the assets. One thing is to have the vaccines or the food or the water. But without the right distribution systems, nothing happens. I just came back from Colombia, an island in the middle of the Atlantic called Providencia. In order to bring food to the 6,000 that were living in that island, where World Central Kitchen is providing relief right now, we had to be using actually the Colombian Navy, because it was a very remote island. We had to be using the Air Force, and we had to be using the Army. Transportation in this sense was absolutely everything. Without the right distribution systems, nothing could happen. So we need to make sure that sometimes forgotten people in America and beyond, one of the main reasons is because people may be poor, because they don't have an easy way of transportation. If they are poor, they may not be owning a car. If they are poor, maybe they live in an area that they don't have even a simple bus system to take them. Or they are poor that they cannot afford to get on a taxi. All of a sudden, being poor is not having the means to bring yourself to the places where actually you can be providing good quality fruits and vegetables to your family. So me, I'm in this moment that I want to believe that in order for food to be powerful, we need to make sure that food is, we are able to be distributing that food, especially in the forgotten places, in the forgotten communities, in the food deserts of America. I do believe that any administration, but especially the Biden-Harris administration, will be amazing that, yes, one of the first things we start doing is to understand that people don't want our pity, people want our respect. Why people have to be driving sometimes far away to be online on a food bank? Why we don't start diversifying the way that food can where people can have access to that food? Let's make sure that if we have SNAPs, make sure that people can actually use that SNAPs in their local farmers market, in their local coffee shop, in their local diner. All of a sudden, people actually don't have to move themselves because they are enriching their community in the process of the federal government providing relief to those people. And we can keep going on and on, where food very much in essence is used having access to that food. And when people don't have access, we need to make sure we create the distribution systems that brings that food near where the people are waiting for us to show up. In my profession, at the end, where I say I feed the few, I feed the many. But more important, we need to make sure that the people that are falling behind sometimes in America, we help them, giving them access to those farmers markets, giving them access to be able to move, to bring foods and vegetables into their lives. Sometimes distribution, transportation is the beginning in many ways of hope and a better tomorrow, especially because you will have better access to those fruits and vegetables that can be changing the lives, one plate of food at a time, of many families across America.
Absolutely, Chef. Thank you for breaking that down and painting that picture so clearly for us. And it's actually reminding me, also, I believe that Vice President-elect Harris's husband, Doug Emhoff, has announced that he's planning to focus on food insecurity and access as one of his core issues in this next chapter of service that he's heading into next year. So I'm hopeful that this is an issue that sort of continues to straddle and bring out the attributes of both what our nonprofit infrastructure is able to offer, but also the role that our state plays in addressing it. So, and you've just illustrated why we need that so eloquently. So thank you.
I was with Vice President-elect Harris, the husband, in DC Central Kitchen right before Thanksgiving. So I know their commitment. And this is Central Kitchen is a wonderful organization in DC that precisely makes sure that food is an agent of change, empowering homeless and ex-convicts to learn a profession. In the process, we make sure that they are able to learn cooking, and in the process, they make food that we distribute to homeless shelters all across Washington, D.C. It was great that the Vice President-elect came, and I look forward for the contributions of the husband to obviously bring a big voice to this. In the same way, remember that President-elect Biden had a town hall with me a few weeks ago, which technically was the first time ever that a presidential candidate gives a town hall where the main issue is food. So I look forward for this administration to really take food seriously, as already are showing. Food is the most important, in a way, energy we have. I don't mean that oil is not important, but if you are talking about the energy that goes into my car and the energy that goes into the body of every single American, I have no doubt to believe that food is the most important energy. So if we take food seriously, almost like a national security issue, I do believe then we can take food to the place it needs to be, not being part of the problem, health issues, inequality, undocumented farmers underpaid and mistreated, slaughter homes that have to close because nobody learned from Upton Sinclair, the jungle, and over a century later, the same issues Upton Sinclair was bringing forward are happening every single day, sometimes in the slaughter houses across America. All of a sudden, if we transform food not into the problem, but into an opportunity, I do believe one plate of food at a time, we can be solving many of the issues that America and the world are facing today.
And how lucky we've been this evening, Chef, to have you help us get smarter on that. And I'm, of course, not surprised, but thrilled to hear what an important role you're playing in helping Doug and others come up to speed on their opportunities for impact and making a difference here. Okay, well, I want to be respectful of everybody's time. I know that it's a very busy end of the year and we've got lots of things to get done, but happy holidays to each and every one of you. And Pete, I think I'll give it over to you to say some sort of closing remarks for our community.
All right, well, thank you, Swati, for guiding us tonight and for everything that you do to help bring together this Win the Era community. Thank you, Steve, for the extraordinary work the Center for the Homeless does in South Bend, and thank you, Chef, for the inspiring work that you were doing around food and hunger. I know that your call will be answered to have more intention on these issues. And thanks to all of you. More than anything, I want to wish you a happy holiday season. It's almost the end of Hanukkah. We're coming up on the Christmas season, and whatever faith or holiday tradition you most belong with, this is the time of year when we come together. And obviously we're doing it in different ways, but finding an incredible way of coming together in spirit. So Chasten and I are wishing you all the best. And also just having been through this amazing year with you again, I can't thank you enough for just everything that you do to lift up one another. The stories I hear about how you're there for each other, in addition to all the ways that you've been there for Chasten and for me and for the causes and allies that we care about. It really does just absolutely bring to life those rules of the road. And it makes me incredibly optimistic for the future.